Hello everybody, it's your boy Hawka, the Counter-Strike Scholar, back with another video, this time taking a look at JKS's stand-in performance for FaZe at Katowice. JKS may have been the stand-in for FaZe Clan at this tournament, but you could definitely argue he was the stand-out player for them. Thank you. Okay, terrible jokes aside, I was impressed by JKS and some of his versatility at this event. He had to stand in for two separate players, and obviously there's been a lot of talk about it because FaZe went on to win the event. So let's take a look at some of those maps. Starting with the pistol on Dust 2, JKS has a good long spawn, so goes to hold that position. Karrigan then swings behind him on long, which helps JKS have that bit more comfort in this fight as he jiggles back and forth to find that initial kill. From here, he drops back while Broky's playing car, and after Broky gets this kill, he's in trouble thanks to this Molotov. So impressive for JKS as a stand-in to realize that so quickly, swing out for these fights and take 2 kills, showing off some of that sharp aim we expect from him. He also had quite a few well-timed nades throughout this half. Sometimes thanks to the nades that were being left in spawn, so he could keep on cycling through them. And then sometimes just based on good timings and good envisioning of where the opponents could potentially be. I think this round 5 was a nice example of his range of utility. He would often start with Karrigan towards long to control that position, this time having this smoke which lands towards the doors. Then we get that well-timed nade we saw earlier, which does good damage onto a couple of Gambit players as they start arriving up towards short. Next, JKS stands with the palm tree pop flash at the ready. This lands in the leaves to make it harder to see. And he has this in hand because Broky is holding the angle with the AWP, so he doesn't have to hold it himself. And then because Broky's been holding this angle with the AWP, it means he doesn't have to use his molly until they start making noise. And finally, once this smoke comes up, the molly is well timed, the flash comes off the back of it, and JKS does a pretty solid job at getting 1 kill, but unfortunately his teammates aren't able to do enough to help. Skipping to round 10, JKS starts with some supportive utility towards long before playing back towards the A bomb site. This time though, he doesn't have any nades to hold from this goose position he seemed to favor in this matchup. But because of a slightly discoordinated push from Gambit with this goose molly coming a little later, and the fact that JKS sits in the molly for a bit, makes Gambit not expect this position, and so he can swing out on unsuspecting players who line up, and this is just filthy with the AK on the CT side. Lovely quad kill. Karrigan said he wanted to prioritize making JKS as comfortable as possible, and you really got to start to see the synergy shine through in this round. Left in a 3v3 retake of B, FaZe still have good utility, but they need to coordinate it effectively, which they do really quickly. JKS smokes the tunnels, we get a molly in towards the car position, so that left side of the site doesn't have to be worried about at all. And then Karrigan's happy to flash and go in first to just be that man drawing the attention. And this means JKS literally just has to look at the right side of the site, wait for someone to swing, and use that snappy aim to get this kill. And it always helps when Karrigan gets a double of his own. Nicely done, and that space created by Karrigan really helps make JKS as comfortable as possible here. Into round 14, again JKS stays nice and composed. It's another nice nade dropped onto the players crossing onto the site behind these smokes, and then a really quick call to boost JKS up. Even if the execution is flubbed slightly, it still finally pays off for this first kill. I will say, normally in this boosted spot, I think you should just drop off after getting 1 frag, since you can be spammed through this smoke pretty easily. But nice to see the quick calls and coordination in this round. In the last round of the half, we get the long control from JKS and Karrigan again. JKS puts this smoke down, but they go down to a 4v5 early. And because they have the smoke on long, they know no one's going to push here quickly without making any noise from, for example, a flashbang. And you can see the exact moment where JKS was going to rotate into CT spawn. Karrigan wasn't a classic nerdy computer kid in school. He was one of the ones to get a girlfriend first, and a very social person. So you already know he's calling for JKS to come back up to short. This turns into some aggression with Karrigan leading the way, holding towards lower/Xbox, and that allows JKS to wide swing up mid, and again, his aim was so on point throughout a lot of these clips we're seeing. Quick dink onto Shiro, another fast kill, they decide to double back, and then JKS actually flashes Karrigan back into short, and Karrigan shows that he can hit some headshots of his own too. Just another round that shows why Karrigan is the master of using stand-ins at tournaments. He seems to just naturally get synergy with pretty much anyone he plays with, and I'm sure he made a lot of calls to make that happen. Switching over to the T side, Karrigan was going in first even more than usual without Rain here on the roster, and that allowed him to make plays like this one in the second round of the second half. He goes for the long play early, spots that there are at least 3 players here because he heard the flashes and saw 2 players swing, and that allows Karrigan to very quickly call for his team to just group back up towards mid after seeing such a heavy investment towards long. And it doesn't have to be too perfect at this point, it just has to be strength in numbers for FaZe as they find the weaker bomb site. It's a cheeky kill on the turnaround too for JKS, which is always nice. Here into the first gun round, you can see Karrigan again going out long early off the back of a good spawn. JKS helps out with some utility, but then when Karrigan gets bogged down having to extinguish this molly, it's actually JKS who gets this initial fight towards long and is able to get the kill. And then as they actually decide to swing onto long, it seems like it's even JKS going in first here to set up Karrigan for the trade, and they get a nice advantage off the back of this early round play. In the very next round, Gambit finally stopped Karrigan's long play early, but FaZe are able to bring it back to a 4v3 by the time the push is meant to happen. There are still 2 CTs waiting on this B site though, and with no Karrigan alive, it's actually JKS going in first here. Obviously these flashes are fantastic, but it's still great to see JKS turning onto 2 separate angles and getting both of these entry kills. And if I told you this was JKS a few years ago with his playstyle, you wouldn't have believed me, because he used to be such a passive player, and you've got to wonder whether that stint on complexity, even if it didn't work out for the team, may have made him a more well-rounded player where he is willing to make more of these aggro plays. Switching to Inferno, we're going to get many more T-side examples. And in this pistol round, Karrigan has bought the nades, so JKS ends up having to be the player going in first. He jumps out through the apartments to make himself harder to hit against those USPs, and normally I would say he's gone slightly too far ahead of the flash, but against the pistols, I think this is fine because he's not going to get sprayed down in this choke point. The flash lands as he lands into the pit, and he's able to get a nice entry off the back of it. And again, of course it's Karrigan setting him up for success. We get more aggro play from JKS here in round 4, where FaZe are on an awkward bye with only 3 AKs. And after his teammate gets the info, the crosshair placement is so good from JKS, as it has been all tournament long. From here, he's able to get towards the bomb site, and this attempted play on the edge of the smoke in the 2v3 is a really nice idea, especially as he hears the AWP spamming on the other side, so he knows he's got a pretty good chance of catching that first man off guard. But unfortunately for him, the belated trade does come through from Nafany. There were some rounds, though, where JKS would be lurking, like this one, where his teammates are making a play towards B, while he's the one man solo lurking towards A to try and catch those rotates. And generally, I would expect Rops to be playing these sorts of positions, but JKS is definitely capable himself, and he gets a really nice timing window upon hearing the first man rotating to get this free frag, and again, look at that crosshair placement, pretty much perfect for this kill. Unfortunately, his teammates aren't able to do enough on B though, so it turns into an unwinnable position. On CT, JKS would play B with Karrigan on Inferno, and speaking of that crosshair placement we were talking about previously, here's another kill that epitomizes that to keep JKS at 100% headshot percentage with a nice little boop right between the eyes. Man's not just a savage, he's got style too. In the very next round, Karrigan is actually comfortable leaving JKS playing solo B with the Galil here, which I think shows the confidence he had in JKS as the stand-in for this event. Karrigan did leave him with this extra smoke to delay things even further as the clock ran down, and so by the time this incendiary is put into place, Gambit are really going up against the clock. And then JKS has good awareness that once this molly gets smoked, he can actually fight through this because the smoke makes it impossible for the banana players to see him. He's got a good chance of isolating those fights, and even if this only turns into a 1-for-1 trade, it just puts that extra bit of pressure on Gambit in a low time left on the clock scenario, and makes sure they don't have as many players set up for that B-side in post-plant. Here in round 24, again JKS has been left solo B. This time he uses this smoke slightly sooner though, because Karrigan is already rotating back to B thanks to some info they got over on A, and I think this smoke is thrown in mind of having this one-way on the right-hand side. We're seeing this a lot more nowadays, and you can see it works here as JKS gets the early kill off the back of it. And then this flash he throws into pool just buys an extra couple of seconds, which gives that extra time for FaZe players to start to rotate over to B. Karrigan gets into position. Gambit don't have the nades to flush out all these spots, so JKS can tuck in, trade off his teammate, and really, really quick execution on both those kills to get the job done again. Super reliable stuff from JKS. In the next round, FaZe are able to get banana control and Karrigan push down early, so JKS rotates over to A to hold long with Brokey, and he plays this spot with such impressive composure. He sees those two long smokes and so waits for Brokey to get the first kill before being on a slightly wider angle so he knows Axar won't be looking at him to get a frag of his own. And then he doesn't overcommit for further frags. Instead, he just kind of jiggles in this corner, keeping Inters in place as long as possible to call for Brokey to come help. They swing together and it ends up being a trade kill from Brokey. He may only get one kill in this round, but the impact is clearly much more than that as he helps Brokey tremendously in locking down long. And then I'm feeling generous, so I'll sprinkle in a couple of rounds from the final on top. Here on this CT Mirage pistol, I like that once JKS sees the smokes, he goes crouching behind the CT box so that if there are flashes coming, they are very unlikely to blind him. Unfortunately, he stands up slightly too soon, so does get slightly blinded, but then lands this cheeky shot on the fadeaway to give his team the edge and also get back to CT where he can group up with his teammates. And he also plays this really well, just jiggling initially to make sure they don't lose close CT control before finally wide swinging as soon as his teammates get there so they can fight together. In general, JKS was playing as that A anchor, but here in this round, FaZe want to have Brokey solo A with the AWP, so he has to go play ladder room. And again, we get that versatility on display as he does a solid job from this position, smoking out this molly, getting into a nice strong spot, and okay, it helps that G2 flub their flash completely here, but still solid position from JKS and he gets the kill that he was looking for. And then finally in this one, we get some nice palace aggression early in the round from JKS, controlling this position towards the A side of the map, and he even has the wherewithal to go ahead and go aggressive at the right time to catch Nico in the back. And all of this does so much for FaZe to get them the information that they can stack heavily towards mid, and just the numbers game from the CTs on mid means G2's plan is foiled in this one. Thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed. If you did, why not check out another one? I got a cheeky little recommendation for you over here, and YouTube thinks you'll like this video here. Oh, and also, you made it to the end of the video, you probably liked it, so why not subscribe? Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time.